Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. Every week, we interview film professionals to discuss their work. And this week, this is made possible by our sponsors, OWC. For more information on how they can assist you in your filmmaking needs, go to owcdigital.com. This week, I'm joined by the editing team behind Black Lady Sketch Show, Editors Daysha Broadway, Jessica Hernández, and Stephanie Filo. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Now, I noticed when I was reading up on this, you've all done a lot of documentary work in your careers. So what brought you to a sketch show from your documentary work?
Oh, so many things, I would say. I mean, along the way. But I do think that all of us with the documentary work, that skill set became really helpful on a sketch show with so many different genres. Mm-hmm. Because documentary kind of requires so much work to create the story in post. We do a lot of, while we have greatly talented cast, we build a lot of the timing of the comedy in our cuts, and the documentary work definitely informs that.
Yeah, especially our background. I think all of us have background in reality TV at some point. And when cutting reality TV, we definitely have to sort of create moments sometimes that aren't really there. And so it's a beneficial skill set to have when cutting a sketch show, because the moments are there. But because we're cutting a lot of improv, sometimes we do have to craft moments to make them feel sort of seamless, even though it wasn't scripted that way, and things like that.
Interesting. Now, how do you break up the shows? Like when I think of a fiction show, the editing team's going to say, okay, well, you take episodes, 2 and 4, and you take 1 and 3. But how do you do this? Do you do sketches individually and then sort of build the shows, or how does that work?
Yeah, we basically, as they're filming, we go sketch by sketch. So, each of us will cut a sketch, and then whatever's up next, we kind of take it. It's like a free for all up until the point when all the sketches have been cut and we've gone through all of our sort of notes process and stuff like that. That's when Robin Thede and Lauren Ashley Smith will kind of go through and decide what order each of the sketches should be in, and what episodes they go in, what balance needs to be where.
Mm-hmm. Now, Daysha, you mentioned that there's improv. Is there anything that you guys had to cut out that you were like, this is perfect, I wish it could go in the show, but it doesn't fit the sketch or the moment?
So much we had to cut for time, or just because, it's like, okay, this joke is running a little long. Sometimes it just gets to that point. I know episode 3, I think, is the one I built, is one of the ones that I built. And I knew that there was a joke in The Last Supper, which is a cut that Stephanie cut that sketch. And I was like, but I know there's a joke in there that we don't have in there that I'm sure was removed for time. But Gabrielle Dennis is literally asking you guys for drink and food tickets at The Last Supper. And that's hilarious to me. Like the fact that you would need to leave a sacrificial lamb at the door. I was like, it's the funniest joke ever. And so I cut the blooper reel at the end to leave enough time for that joke. I was like, this has to live somewhere. Some people have to see this. This is too funny. But it happens. Yeah, it happens all the time in all of our sketches where we're just like, oh, that joke had to go. There's a sketch and a joke in Get Your Life that I thought was really funny that no one will ever see it. It didn't make the blooper reel. It's gone forever, but it lives in my heart.
I'm on your hard drive. You can't see it. You have it forever.
It might be on my desktop, but
yeah, there's a lot of like back and forth that ends up in the blooper reel, like the courtroom Kiki 2 or the Black Lady courtroom sketch. If you look at the bloopers at the end of that episode, it's all just like Robin Thede and Issa Rae walking in, and Robin like basically just roasting Issa every single time they walk in. So it's a pretty amazing run that would have been good if they could all be in the sketch, but you can only take one.
Especially because Issa doesn't know what she's gonna say. Like Issa has no idea what Robin is gonna say until she says it. That's why she keeps breaking, because it's so unexpected. But yeah.
How about yourself, Jessica? Is there one that stuck out for you that you had to cut but you want to keep?
Oh God, I know there was a lot in Gang Retreat that we ended up lifting certain sections of, and it was just in the delivery. Like I can't remember the joke itself, but there was definitely this section when somebody surprisingly comes in, and for time we cut her down, and I miss it. I miss that.
Now, one of the tricky things whenever I look at editing comedies is that, you know, each of these comedic actors have a sense of timing in their delivery, and that sort of impacts the pacing and the editing. Did you guys have any trouble with that? How did you work with their sort of rhythms and timing when you were cutting?
Well, their rhythms work together quite well. Like when you even just watching dailies and stuff, their chemistry is really good. So even though they have different styles, they very much mesh. I think in editorial, we're just like trying to do like hit the jokes like rapid fire. So what we're doing is just trying to squeeze it as tightly as we can. But as far as their chemistry, it's right there. It's there to be had.
Okay. And now, what would you say is one of the more difficult aspects of working on a show like this for you in the editorial department?
I think choices, honestly, because there are so many choices to make. And you know, as editors, we choose takes. That's what we do. But on this show, because there is so much improv that is incorporated into it, trying to decide which is the funnier joke, which one is going to land better, which one, you know, works better for this moment. Because sometimes it is, you know, which one's funnier, and other times it is, yes, that one's funnier, but this one works better for the moment. So we have it's trying to figure out, you know, you don't want to leave anything out. You want to make sure all the funniest jokes are in. And I think on the initial pass on our editor's cuts, that's usually my difficulty is, you know, I want all of this but I have to make a choice. I think we make a choice for this moment. And then we'll go through the notes process, and what ends up staying. But initially it's just that. Yeah.
Interesting. Now you mentioned the editor's cut, and when I talk to editors, there's sort of two schools of thought. Some people follow the script or like what's been laid out for them very religiously because it's, you know, present what the director wants. And some say, no, this is my opportunity to show my story. How do you guys like to tackle your first cuts?
One of the first things that Robin ever said to me was like, it doesn't matter, just make sure it's the funniest thing you can make it. And that really kind of resonated with me, because it's like, even though you want to follow exactly what's written, they do so much amazing improv, and like every take is hilarious. So, you know, really it just comes down to like what makes you laugh the most and what fits into this style the most for me.
Okay. How about yourself, Daysha?
The way I think about it is like, if I don't do it now, they might not ever see it. So I like, you know, because I'm sure they have their, you know, vision of what they want it to look like in their head. But that's the beauty of working with editors, is we might see things that you didn't see or you don't remember shooting, and we might see it from a different perspective. We might, it could actually happen this way. So I know that maybe it wasn't scripted this way, but I want you to see it with this version so you can make a decision based on having already seen it. Because it's also funny like this, and it is funny as scripted, but what if this works better? And it might not, but at least it's being presented in a way that they can make a decision about it.
Yeah. I had one that Robin, I threw in that Robin didn't even remember doing. And she loved it, but she's like, I did that? I don't remember doing that. And I always feel like in this case, we know what the script is. We can go back to it. So why not show them something else? Because we can always return.
Yeah.
Now, when I talked to the editors of Key and Peele, they were like, we knew it was working when Key was laughing through the whole thing. Was there, when you guys are showing it to the ladies, how, you know, are you guys stressed about that? How do you know it's working? Or you know, what's that relationship like in the process?
Yeah, I will say Stephanie and Jessica have it easy. The first season, I did not know it was working because everyone came in very with a professional, we're not going to laugh, we're going to look at these in a way that, like, you know, what's working, what should we be doing? And So we literally had to sit in a room with all the like the writers and the producers and watch the sketches, and no one's laughing.
Oh, that sounds rough.
Even if they think it's funny, they're not laughing because they're taking notes. And so I'm just sitting there like, is this working? Am I fired? What's happening? Like, I don't know what's happening. But the second season, I think, because we know what the show is, I think Robin and Lauren sort of gave themselves more permission to like laugh and go, okay, let's craft this, in a way, let's craft this sketch the way we really want it to be, so that it's the most successful sketch, but also on the first pass gave themselves more permission to just enjoy it and laugh and, trust us and trust the process. So I can't remember the first thing we watched together. But I remember Robin being obsessed with the opening title sequence this season, and how it was done, and emailing me about something that Stephanie did. I think it was the dance moves one. What is it called? Tired dance moves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And just about Stephanie had done these split screens to fix a sort of problem that we had with the amount of people we could have in the room because of COVID restrictions. And I think that doing that and coming up with that solution made sort of Robin go, okay, this team is great. I don't have to worry about every little thing. Like this is a great team of editors and they can handle it. And if we have problems, they can find solutions. And this is funny. This is funny as hell. I'm like enjoying the season. So in that case, it actually came in the form of an email, but before I had no idea whatsoever if it was working.
Something interesting too is like, because this season we did it all remotely, we only really had Evercast to kind of gauge how things were working. And, if you're in a room with somebody and you're playing it, even if they're sitting behind you, you can kind of feel like the energy drop, or you're like, oh, this producer like glanced at their phone, like I better punch up this moment. So it's interesting on Evercast because you're much like this, just staring at people's faces and like, you're able to see all of their reactions. The only problem is like sometimes there's a lag because you're online. So it's like, oh, did they laugh at the moment, or did they laugh at like a moment that happened, a couple seconds before? So that was one of the bigger things to get used to, I think.
Wow. Even with Evercast, there was a lag in terms
of
yeah, there's lag. I think the funniest or like the awkwardness is they'll say stop and then you stop and they said, well, I said stop because it's 2 seconds after they said it,
Wow. So were you guys into like, did you go to the comedy clubs before or anything like that, or is this just something fresh for you all?
No.
I have a weird background in comedy. I did like 120 episodes of Comics Unleashed that had four comics each episode. So I saw nearly 1,000 comics go through.
Wow.
Oh
and and that season I feel like I could be a scout for comics at this point.
I can't go to comedy clubs. I can't watch American Idol. So you think you can? I can't. Anytime someone's on a stage, I'm afraid that they're gonna bomb, and I'm gonna like the embarrassment is gonna like take over me, and I can't watch it. I can't be involved. I've gone to like one comedy show, and I was like, thank God this person was funny, because if they weren't, I wouldn't be okay. It was Kevin Hart actually. It was like no one knew who he was at the time, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy's great. That's good. But I was like, my heart was racing for this person, and so no, I have no background in it whatsoever.
How about yourself, Stephanie?
I have a similar thing to you, Daysha. I'm always worried that someone's gonna like crash and burn. I used to go to like comedy clubs way more often, and then once I saw like a prominent comedian bomb completely, basically he got like booed off the stage and left. I won't say who it was, but I was like, I don't think I can
drop the name. Drop the name.
Rhymes with.
I won't, but I was like, I don't think I can do this anymore. That was so brutal, and it was like someone who I know is funny, but like this set just did not. I think he was like testing new material, and so it's I never want to see anyone crash. So
My fear is always don't sit in the front row, just sit in the back, because they're going to talk to the people in the front row.
Yeah.
And I've gone with people who are like, let's sit in the front row. I'm like, don't do it. You're setting yourself up.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, as I mentioned at the start, you guys have all worked on other projects that are quite impressive. Like Daysha, you worked on Surviving R. Kelly, which is phenomenal. There's particularly the episode where they go to the hotel and they find the daughter still there.
Dominique, I think. Yeah.
How in a show like that, you guys really ramped up the tension in that scene. So how did you guys work with the material you had to sort of get that out there?
Well, I didn't work on that particular scene and that particular moment. I worked on the first 4 episodes, material that was ended up in the first 4 episodes. There were other editors that worked on it. There was so many editors that worked on Surviving R. Kelly. Stephanie worked on Surviving R. Kelly as well. But I think, it was such a hard experience working with that material and trying to make sure that these women who had been victimized by this person, but we also just want to tell the truth of the situation. I think at the time, like, none of the women knew each other, and they were all telling the exact same story. And so I think we sort of approached it where it was just like, okay, if we're going to tell this story, we're not going to change it. We're going to completely let them speak, and we can ramp up the tension and build up to moments of reveals, but just not in an exploitive way. We need to, so many of the press and people on Twitter, people in just live fans of his are already trying to discredit these women. And so we didn't want to be a part of that. We wanted to just let the story play out as much as possible. And so the moments we chose to ramp up and things like that were very calculated. We weren't going to use crazy music. We weren't going to do crazy sound effects that made it sort of feel too true crime or too contrived. We really just wanted to let these women speak, I think.
Well, the whole series is phenomenal. I remember just watching it back to back. Like, I binged the whole thing when it came out.
Oh, are you okay? I was.
Well, my wife is the one who was like, "We got to watch this," and I was like, "All right, let's do this." And then I was like, "Whoa, but this is crazy."
I think that those stories, like Daysha was saying, it's like the stories ramp up themselves. They're already such terrible things that have happened to these women, and for them to even be on camera sharing these is a huge endeavor in the above all else. So I think that all of us kind of just were really intentional in how we were using their words, because it's like those words are so powerful. And I remember, Daysha and I constantly in each other's edit bays, or the other editors that we were working with, constantly talking about, like, have you seen this in this story? Like, how does this tie in? Can we use this? So yeah, that was like the ultimate collaboration, I think.
Well, yeah. Sorry. I was going to say, Stephanie, you're very socially active and have actually done work with the UN. Can you tell us about your charity work?
Sure. So like several years ago in 2014, there was an Ebola crisis in West Africa. My family's from West Africa. Everyone lives there. And nobody was talking about it. And there was like a high illiteracy rate in the areas that it was really affecting, but the only sort of information that was being left out was like flyers that you have to read, and we're like, this is not helpful. So basically myself and a bunch of other Sierra Leonean diasporans who are in LA who do film and TV were like, maybe there's a way we can try to, disseminate this information. So we basically created a PSA campaign that was in all of the different local languages. Sierra Leone has 26 different languages. So it was like just creating different PSAs and different moments that we could sort of share. So it got shared throughout like radio, TV, everything in West Africa. And because of that, it kind of launched me into this like social impact campaign sector. So after that, I did, several different UN campaigns. I did some for like World AIDS Day. I worked on like the White House task force back when Obama was in office. I have to specify. They did a campaign that was basically trying to end sexual assault on college campuses called It's on Us. That's still actually going now. So I try to get involved with as many of those things as I can. But it's kind of like a side endeavor that I do at the same time as I'm cutting television.
Yeah.
So.
I was gonna say, I don't think we can call it a hustle. This is not a side hustle.
It's not a hustle, but I try as much as I can to at least tell the stories that I can.
Yeah. Now, Jessica, you worked on the Boy Band Con. What were some of the challenges in that doc?
Well, I mean, there was a challenge a lot with the music and dealing with all these different entities that didn't necessarily want that story told. So if anything, it was a real fight to get the content we needed to make the doc. Okay. But I can't really speak that much to that one because I came on early and did not finish Boy Band Con. So that's probably not something that I would be the expert on as far as like how it turned out.
Okay. Now, if you guys had to choose one sketch from the Black Lady sketch show, what would it be for your favorite?
Mine is The Last Supper, the biblical one.
How about yourself, Daysha?
I go back and forth between. Okay, is it back and forth? There's like 5 of them. I don't think that's back and forth. I think Get Your Life is probably my favorite. It was the hardest one to cut for me, just technically, because there was so much happening. But it is in itself just an entire short film. There's a plot twist. There's a lot going on in it, and I think it's just really, really funny. Yeah,
that's amazing.
How about yourself, Jessica?
For me, I go back and forth, but I love Gang Retreat and The Girl That Cried Vintage are my 2 favorites.
Yeah.
Now, the last question I like to ask everyone I interview, because we've been stuck in this pandemic for so long, a lot of people have turned to streaming services for entertainment. Is there a show or a movie you discovered on the streaming services that you think people should check out?
I'm not sure if it's not brand new, but I caught it early and really loved The Great on Hulu.
I just finished watching a mini series called The Third Day on HBO, and I like binged through it in one sitting. It was it's a British show. It was so good. It has Jude Law in it. And yeah, that one and Gossip Girl.
Stop. You're also very deep into Pretty Little Liars right now, and I know you don't want to admit that, but I think you should tell people.
No, I admit it. I admit it. I was needing a new guilty pleasure show because I had just finished like re-binging Gossip Girl. So Daysha suggested Pretty Little Liars, and yeah, I was very, very late to Chernobyl, and I binged it in a day, and it was phenomenal. But there's this Netflix documentary, I think it's called Murder Amongst Mormons.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Like I love the way the editors and producers crafted that story, because it doesn't come at you right away. They definitely just drop little hints along. It's like 4 episodes or something, maybe 3. But they just drop little hints, and you think you're getting one story, and then in the end it's a completely different story. And I didn't know the real life story, and so I watched it kind of just blown away. So kudos to that whole team. It was very well done.
Well, thank you all for letting me interview you, and I want to thank you guys, and I also want to thank our sponsors, OWC. Go to OWC Digital for all your filmmaking and computer needs. I'm Gordon Burkell. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good enjoy the weekend.
You too.
You too.
Thanks.